Hi Biology, it's Miss Satterley here. This video I'm going to talk about both animal and plant cells. So I drew a structure like this in class on Monday, and today we just reviewed a little bit. This is the handout that I usually make. So this is a document I made in Microsoft Word to just show you the different organelles. I did the best I could with it. We're going to go over the parts of the cell. If you're a remote learner or you were absent, please draw this. Label it so you have it. Don't just watch, actually draw it yourself. I'm going to go over both an animal and a plant cell. This top one is an animal cell. Animal cells do not have a cell wall. They have only a cell membrane, which is the outside. They are movable. So animals are able to move. Plants can't really move, and that has to do with their cell wall structure. The cell wall of a plant limits the cell's movement. Animal cells are not limited by a cell wall, so they actually can move around. So I'm going to start by labeling the cell membrane. Tomorrow, there will be a Google slide that will have all of the organelles and all of the functions. So you had an assignment you were supposed to do. You're supposed to look up those functions on Google search, and now I'm going to go over them with you. I'm going to mention the functions as I do this, just the ones that I'm labeling. So the cell membrane actually is going to control what enters and exits the cell. Inside the cell, we have the nucleus. The nucleus is the center of the cell. It controls all other cellular activity. Inside the nucleus, there's the nucleolus. So this structure right here, this is the nucleolus. I'm going to label it down here. I want you to notice, I want to stress this right here. There is an O in nucleolus. So I want you to think that the nucleolus is the inside of the nucleus. So it's the O structure inside of it. The outside of the nucleus is called the nuclear envelope. The nuclear envelope has a similar function to the cell membrane, except for the nucleus. So it actually is going to allow what moves in and out of the cell. The nucleolus makes ribosomes. On the nuclear envelope, there are openings. I'm going to draw those in right there, and those are called nuclear pores. Nuclear pores. The nuclear pores allow things to enter and exit. Around the nucleus, you can see we have some structures. This is called endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum is a membrane-bound structure that is right around the nucleus that has different functions. It produces things that are important for the cell. So our endoplasmic reticulum, our rough ER, synthesizes proteins that are transported out of the cell, and smooth ER synthesizes or makes lipids. Rough ER is named after the ribosomes on the surface. So before I label those two, let's talk about ribosomes. So this right here, all of these dots inside the cell, these are called ribosomes. Again, ribosomes are found in all types of cells, whether it's an animal cell, plant cell, or prokaryotic cells. And that's because all cells need to have proteins. Back to this. If this is a ribosome, then rough ER must be this one. I'm going to write rough. Instead of spelling out endoplasmic reticulum, I'm going to leave it as just ER. So rough ER. Now this one down here is going to be smooth ER. The reason it's called rough ER is because under a microscope, or when it's magnified at a really strong or high rate, it actually looks rough or granular-y under a microscope, and that's where we get the rough and smooth. Smooth ER doesn't have the rough-looking appearance to it. Next thing I want to do is the structure right here. So inside this, there is a squiggly line that actually represents a membrane that's inside that structure. This is your mitochondria. Mitochondria are commonly called the powerhouse of the cell. The reason for that, sorry for that writing like that, mitochondria actually make ATP, and ATP is the energy source for the cell. We have another membrane-bound structure that's actually outside, or it doesn't attach to the nucleus. This is called the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus actually packages and processes things inside the cell. So things that are made are going to be released from the cell. There's actually something I want to add here. On the Golgi apparatus, sometimes vesicles can form. So I'm going to draw a couple circles that are attached to this. So these are vesicles. And vesicles are used to package things and move them throughout the cell. Over here, I have an X pattern. This actually represents cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton is made up of microtubules and microfilaments. Cytoskeleton is used in mitosis to help separate the nucleus and move it where it needs to go. There are two circular structures inside the cell. I'm going to highlight them so we can see them. Those are similar in function. The one down here, I have 3 dots on the center just to distinguish between the two. This is a lysosome. Lysosome is the garbage can of the cell. It actually will recycle cellular debris, break it down, and use it into make it into something useful. Over here, the one that has dots is called a peroxisome. A peroxisome actually breaks down hydrogen peroxide, which is toxic in large levels. So your body wants to break down any kind of hydrogen peroxide, and the cell has a peroxisome in order to do that. One last structure. Oh, there's two. Two structures that are left. One, this is a flagellum. A flagellum is a long structure that's used for locomotion or movement. The human species only has one cell that actually has a flagellum on it. This is more important in single-celled eukaryotes such as euglena or amoebas and things like that. The only human cell that has a flagella or flagellum is the sperm cell. One last structure right here. This structure is used for mitosis, and it's called a centriole. The centriole actually makes spindle fibers, and those spindle fibers are used during mitosis to separate the chromosomes inside the nucleus, and we'll get into mitosis more in second semester. After I was editing the video, I noticed that there was a small box at the bottom corner. That was the webcam that wasn't supposed to be there. I don't know why it showed up because it wasn't on my screen, but I'm going to add to it the picture. Actually, you could see me and it wasn't good. So I'm going to do the last part over. Again, this is the animal cell. I left this part in. I am showing you the structures. You can see it without the square at the bottom. But I'm going to look at the plant cell. So here's the plant cell. The plant cell includes all of the same organelles, mainly, except there are a couple that are not found in an animal cell. So again, we have mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, ribosomes, rough ER, smooth ER, nucleolus, nucleus, nuclear envelope, and cytoskeleton. The three structures I have labeled in blue are the three structures only found The three structures that are labeled in blue are the only structures found in a plant cell, and they're not found in an animal cell. That includes the central vacuole. The central vacuole is used to store water, waste, and toxins if you have a poisonous plant, so they're stored within that structure. Chloroplasts, which is right here, chloroplasts are related to mitochondria. They also have membranes on the inside, but they're structured a little differently. So there's stacks of membranes here, and those are called thylakoids. We will learn more about those when we get into photosynthesis. And the last structure is the cell wall. Now, the cell wall is used to give support to the cell. The cell wall actually limits the movement of plant cells, which is why plants aren't able to move as freely as animals. They do move a little bit still, and you might notice this if you put a plant in sunlight or you move it a different amount of sunlight, it actually might look like it's growing to the side, and that's because it's trying to get to the light source itself, and that's called phototropism. Now, the cell membrane is found in all cells, no matter what type. It's found in animals, plant cells, and also prokaryotes. Now, the cell membrane is always on the inside of the cell wall. I've had students mix this up in the past, so I want to make sure you understand. The cell membrane is the inside layer, and the cell wall is the outside. You do not want the structure that protects the cell to be inside the cell membrane, because then the cell membrane would not be protected. So this is the plant cell, and I showed you the animal cell. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a wonderful day. Bye.